Hello, listeners. Thanks for tuning in again this week. I know we've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back in it, and I am super excited for this week's guest. They are a phenomenal photographer, artist, cinematographer, car mechanic, bilingual, polyamorous, just phenomenon. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, Erik Blume.
Some of those things were true. They got less true as they got towards the end there.
I was thinking about this on the way over here, so we internet met like 10 years ago.
Facebook, I think.
Yep, FBs. So I've known of your work since then, and watching how far you've come in those 10 years. I mean, honestly, I think 4 or 5 years ago, I remember seeing a shot of yours and being like, what the fuck? Like, this dude is really taking advantage of how you can use lights and things like that. And then it just keeps on getting radder and radder.
Thanks.
We are not in the normal Duck Duck Grey Duke studio, by the way. We are in Raw STP. Do you call it Raw STP?
Studio Raw.
Studio Raw.
Yeah. The
Raw
STP just exists because Studio Raw, the Instagram handle, was
already taken.
So I added the STP because St. Paul.
Gotcha. So Studio Raw.
Yeah.
Which this place is so fucking sick. And the amount of work that you and your dad put into the stuff that's up, I'm probably going to make a clip because people don't understand. For one, setting up lights in the correct way is such an art. And then being able to create the amount of shit that you've had so that it's in photo. People, I do a lot of Photoshop stuff where I don't have space or whatever, so I'm throwing people into different settings. So to get things in camera is so hard, and it has to take up a lot of space, way more space than people think. So the fact that you've been able to do that so many different times, that's so time consuming and so meticulous. It's annoying as fuck. So when did you start making the plunge and you're like, I'm building sets?
So I shot out of my house for 2 years. We bought a house. My wife and I bought a house in 2020. Perfect house buying time. Yeah. Heat of COVID, we bought a house. And we went from a 2-bedroom apartment to a house, and we had a finished basement that had a corner that we were didn't really know what to do with it, and she wanted a dining room, and I thought that I kind of vetoed that, and I was like, it'd be cool to have a studio. Because up until then I was natural light photographer, and anyways, I wanted a studio, and so we built this little studio in the corner of the basement and bought some lights, and it was this perfect storm of buying LED lights and Euphoria, the show, and blah, blah, blah. So then, fast forward a year or two, and I was getting kind of bored of the paper wall in the basement, which was going great and was super fun. But it gets redundant. So I wanted to start building stuff. So then I did the wax throne that I did that was not a set, but it was what I could do with the space that I had, because I wasn't about to put wallpaper up in our basement.
That's funny. I thought that was at what's that dude's name? He's another guy that builds a ton of sets.
James probably.
Yeah, James.
Yeah. No, I built that in my garage.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So then it was okay, I was kind of switching jobs a lot at the time. Leaving one job of 8 years and then going freelance for a bit and then starting up another job. And it was just okay, what do I want to do and whatever. So I was I could build a little studio in the garage, because it's every time you build a set in the basement studio, it consumes the entire studio. So it's I can't do anything except for whatever that set is.
Right.
So
right.
If I were to build this in the basement, it's this, and I can't do anything else. So it's okay, I could build another set in the garage because we had heat in the garage. And then I'm yeah, but now I'm a professional photographer who's shooting out of his basement and his garage, which are both red flags on paper. But
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so I was like, and it was just kind of like fumbling back and forth on the garage situation, and like I've been looking for studios for years, not actively, but just like putzing, window shopping for studios, and then this one came along, and I looked at it and kind of just made the jump for it because I was like, I just want to be able to build sets and do cool shit, and also maintain the paper wall kind of bread and butter of that. And this place was like the perfect storm to be able to build 4 or 5 sets or more.
So, rewinding, do you have siblings?
No.
You're an only child.
Correct.
And you're Jewish?
No.
Oh. So, I mean, you've been around, like, or been close to, like, urban settings for photography for a while, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in North St. Paul, which is a suburb for sure. And then went to school in Wisconsin,
Oh.
Menominee,
Oh.
which is very much not
Very
urban.
much. Yeah. Exact opposite. Lots of drinking, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking about that with somebody the other day. Had a good time there. And then moved immediately back here because I'm a city person for sure. So,
What'd you go to school for?
graphic design.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I wanted to do architecture, and I'm not.
Oh.
I'm not smart enough.
I feel like everyone who goes to school for graphic design eventually has to get glasses. Like, they didn't start with glasses when they went, but eventually down the road, they end up with glasses.
Yeah. I actually got prescription glasses like a year or two ago, and these are just blue blockers because everything that I do makes my eyes hurt.
Yeah.
So I stopped wearing the prescription ones because I was convinced that those were making my eyes hurt. And it's been a whole thing.
That's fun.
That's a separate podcast, I think, just my journey with glasses.
So when did you buy your first camera?
I acquired my first camera from my parents as a graduation gift in high school, which I did not purchase.
Okay. So not necessarily. So
that wasn't
your first camera.
Yeah.
Would be more accurate.
I was an art kid in high school, like drawing and painting art kid. I don't know if this is close enough.
No, you're good.
Okay. I was an art kid in high school, but like drawing and painting art kid. And kind of fumbled myself into an advanced photo class, basically.
Oh.
Which required a note to skip basic photo.
Interesting.
Because it's an advanced class, and I'm like,
so there's a prereq class that
which I was skipping.
Okay.
Because it was like junior year of high school, maybe even senior year. And I had like a typing class, like how to type, which was actually helpful. But the kid that I sat next to was like, he had a bunch of stuff going on, and it was a lot. I'll leave it at that. And he would like scream and like bash the keyboard, and I was like, I just got to get out of this class. Like, they wouldn't move my seat. It was like assigned seating or whatever. And so I went to my guidance counselor, and I was like, hey, like, whatever's in this, 6th period, just give me some, whatever else. She's like, okay, it's advanced photo or gym. And you had too many gym classes already. So I was like, all right, cool. She's like, you can get into advanced photo. You just need a signed permission slip from Mr. Rada, who I had known a lot from drawing and painting classes. So
okay.
I went to him, I was like, Rada, just sign the slip. And he's like, what's this for? And I'm like, just sign the slip. He's like, you're skipping basic photo. That's what this is. And I'm like, yeah, he's like, do you even know what you're doing? And I'm like, no, I'll figure it out. Like, it can't be that hard. And so he signed it, just like, not begrudgingly, but signed it. And my dad had a camera. He was into photography loosely here and there.
Okay.
So I had like held a camera, and I had taken photos on like family vacations and stuff. We spent a lot of time camping and like doing national parks.
Oh, nice.
So I had taken photos, but it was like on auto with like a Canon whatever T1i, maybe, if that was even a thing. Like the original Rebel.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was just called Canon Rebel at the time, and then it went to like the T series. Anyways, so I did advanced photo and borrowed his camera, and it was like super into it and won like a congressional art show thing and got to fly out to DC and had a photo hanging up in the Capitol, and like it was just like a whirlwind of stuff basically.
Wow.
And then I was like,
What was it a series or just one portrait?
the assignment was like he had like a photo book, and the assignment was to copy a photo as closely as we could in the photo book, which was challenging because it was like a photo book of good photos. And there was one that I did that was like a pea pod on a one of those transfer tables with the light underneath.
Oh, okay. Yep.
What are those called? Like a light table.
I was gonna say light table.
And
we use them at the
it was
tattoo
like
shop all the time. Modify tattoo.
Oh yeah, for the transfer papers and stuff. Yeah. So it was a pea pod on a light table shot like macro from above.
Okay.
So you could see the pea
All the
outline and
hairs
like
and
the veins and stuff, and like that was it. And it was titled "Eat Your Peas," and super funny high school kid, like yeah. And yeah, I won a congressional art show, and that was pretty sick.
So the trip to DC, like, were you going and meeting other kids that were also photographers, or?
Yeah, so each congressional district had one winner. So there was 50 winners.
Damn.
Total. Is that correct? I don't know
I think there's
how many congressional districts there are.
52.
52.
I'm totally lying.
Yeah, so someone can school us on
Yeah.
the judicial system. Is that judicial? I don't even know. We'll edit this out. Anyways, so yeah, there was I had 50 something winners, one from each congressional district, and they were like in a hallway in the U.S. Capitol. I almost said state capitol.
Wow.
U.S. Capitol. Yeah, it was super cool. It was honestly really, really cool. So it was hung up there for like a year, and then I won you got like 2 free tickets, and I think that was it. I don't even think they paid for like the hotel.
Oh,
So
okay.
I went with my dad, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did he bring his camera?
I don't remember the timeline. I think that was probably before graduation, so we would have brought his camera, and I would have probably just held on to it the whole time.
That's tight.
But yeah, then fast forward to high school graduation, they bought me I think it was a Nikon,
Nice.
like a D 3000.
I was gonna say the three.
whatever,
Yeah.
like the basic with like a kit lens, and yeah, I went to school for graphic design after failing myself out of architecture. Because yeah, I wanted to go to NDSU for architecture, and my dad's an electrical engineer, so I got to shadow architecture architect, and I hated it. It was so awful because it was like in my brain, I'm like, yeah, we get to design like Frank Lloyd Wright type energy, and I shadowed this guy, and he's like designing a target.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a 3,000 page book on designing a square target. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is not it for me. And he's like, yeah, it's like a lot of math and a lot of just like deciding where outlets go. And
I was gonna say,
it's like,
it's
yeah, this
way
is not
more
sexy.
Yeah, it's way more like making sure that this, structure can hold X, load and like.
Yeah. The reality on that hit real hard. And I was like, cool. Okay. What is all that without any math? And that was graphic design, which was the fallback of our entire generation, I think. So not that it was a fallback. I was very happy with it. I had a good time.
Well, and I mean, it seemed like graphic design was such a good future planning career because it felt like you were always going to need graphic design at base level, like helping design websites and shit like that. And then people just started building website builders, and that whole thing like went out the window, and so yeah.
And then Fiverr.
And then Fiverr.
You can get a really cool.
And then
my own studio logo is from Fiverr.
And then AI.
Yeah.
Like
design me a studio logo.
Dude, like,
and it does it. So
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see where graphic design goes as the thing, but that's probably a whole nother episode of AI and what that means for
oh my god,
everybody. And
I mean
because I use AI design to help me design sets.
Oh, like blueprints?
Kinda, yeah. So I would use like neon jungle. I have a neon jungle on the other side of this wall. Not really something that exists in the real world, you can look at jungles and you can look at neon stuff. But I was like, okay, what does like a Miami sweaty neon jungle look like? So I was like, yeah, using AI and like typing in neon jungle.
A Jennifer Lopez music video.
Yeah.
So as you're going through graphic design, were you doing shoots to help pay for things? Because I feel like that's how like a lot of us like start. Because initially I wanted to do cinematography, like, and because like I viewed my DSLR as a video camera that just so happens to also do photos.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, I'll do like some family photos and shit to help pay to buy lenses because that's
Sure.
like I think that's one of the biggest things that like isn't talked about when it comes to people starting photography. It's like, yeah, getting a camera is easy, but obtaining like good glass is such a big part of it, especially if you're filming shit.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I started a wedding business with my buddy in college that was like pretty fruitful right out of the gate. So we did like photo video for weddings. And that was pretty much it. I did some music videos back in the day in college and stuff, but that wasn't a huge moneymaker, as it still is not today.
Yeah.
Weddings are and forever will be, I think. Maybe not 1,000 years from now, but
Yeah.
at least for another 100 years, I think. So yeah, I did have some side hustle, photo video related stuff that started probably in college. Yeah.
And then what made you, because I remember like a moment where I was out skating, we were filming some skating stuff, and there was this Somali kid just chilling and watching us. And I had seen street photography stuff before, but I'd never like tried it.
Mm-hmm.
And I took this picture, and he looked right at me, like as soon as like he wasn't paying attention, and then I tried to be like sneaky and turn my camera his way, and he looked right at me, and it's still like one of my favorite
Yeah.
portraits. But that moment where I was like, oh, one photo can tell a story forever. And that whole concept, I was just like, God, that's so crazy to me that like, and then the more I kept looking into it, like going back to like sets and stuff, like you build sets for like 3 images, and but it can like the detail that's in there, it can tell this story for ages and ages,
Totally.
which blew my mind.
Yeah.
So then I started taking photography way more seriously.
Totally.
When did you like decide to make it a career?
I don't know if there was like a decision point.
Did it just evolve into that?
Evolved, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was like always the side hustle. And then in college, I took some photo video classes. So I do have a minor in applied photo video,
Oh.
which was pretty sick. I had 2 really influential, like my high school photo teacher, Mr. Rada, was like incredible. I still see him to this day.
Oh, wow.
He has a studio in Northrop King, and he does like old school stuff, like tin prints and stuff
tin
of like trans people. They're incredible.
Wow.
And then he does some other stuff with like food and stuff, I think, like tin types of like pineapples or like oranges or anyways, he's super dope. And then I had 2 college professors that were like very influential on both sides of the spectrum. One that was like Gordon Ramsay, like you're shit, you suck at this. And it was like so motivating to come in with something that I thought I was bringing heat. And he's like, this is garbage. But then he would be like, here's 8 reasons why it's garbage. And like girls are like crying in the class.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, I for sure there were days that I wanted to cry. And he would just tear it apart. And like that, I grew a ton from that. And then the other video teacher was like making commercials for law firms in River Falls and would like bring me along to help him set up.
Oh, sick.
And he was paying me to help him assist with these, like big high paying commercial gigs that he had on his side hustle. So like those 2, it was like real life practical experience and then the like growth of being told that you're shit, but also why you're shit. Because that's really, I think that's important. Like, I think hating is good, but it's also like, like this is shit, and then like that's it. but like it was like, reasons why it's shit. So I think those help me understand and grow into being more interested in doing it full time.
Mm.
And then, yeah, right out of college, I had a gig doing photo video in the car industry, which I was there for like 7.5 years doing that, which was super cool. And then, yeah, the last 2 years have been pretty tumultuous. So,
So I mean, I'd seen the portraits of like females that you had done, but it wasn't like everything, right? Like I would see a
yeah,
mixture of like cars and other stuff. And then how did you like it's your specialty now. Like
yeah,
you seem to have you're capable of building relationships with models that because building that trust is huge. Um and yeah, you are I haven't seen a bad photo, I think, ever.
yeah. I mean, I think everybody has days.
Sure, but I mean because it's two-part trust. One, that you're not gonna be like asking where these people live
Yeah,
and weird
it's
shit like that.
it's easy to not
And then
be a piece of
two,
shit.
backing up that trust with
Yeah,
good work.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so I do model stuff, and then I do weddings, and I do like corporate video, and car stuff, and I don't know,
Is
whatever.
that
But
other stuff because of people who know your work and so they're like, "Oh, I know Eric can do this."
yeah, yeah, that's mostly word of mouth. And honestly, I think the truth behind why it's not advertised is because it's I think each one has its own reason. Um, the car stuff, I love shooting cars, but there were so many other people in the Twin Cities that are incredible at it and putting all of their eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I shot cars for 8 years full time. And I guess I kind of got burnt out on it. So that, and yeah, the car people don't really want to pay for content, unfortunately.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
And that's a struggle in every industry, really.
Well, I mean, that's how we met was through the show last night,
Yeah,
which
concerts.
theshowlastnight.com, I still use that website to convince people that I used to be cool.
Forgot about that. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, concerts are super fun to shoot. There's like no money in it
exactly.
unless you're like hired by the band or group or individual to tour or something like that. Then maybe there's some money. There's like a super famous concert photographer from the Twin Cities
Ashley?
that I think he's from here.
Oh,
that
Adam.
yeah, Adam. Like that type. Like he's touring with huge names,
He's like so
and he's incredible.
Ashley
Yeah,
Osborne was the first one that I saw to where like she was big in like the metalcore scene.
sure.
So like touring with Chiodos and then eventually, shooting with Paramore and all this random stuff. But yeah, Adam, that one is bonkers to me because I fucking hated his photos at first. And he seemed so arrogant when I first met him.
Okay. Yeah, I've never met him.
It was so weird. So we're both shooting the state fair, and he was working for is it City Pages? I forget some Twin Cities website, and he was the only one that got a pass to shoot 30 Seconds to Mars. But he only had a kit lens with him, and so I was super jaded. Like, what kind of fucking asshole?
Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
But then learning that like it was on purpose. Like he grew up seeing like, you know, dive bar concert photography to where like you have to use a flash.
Mhm.
It's going to be black and white and not realizing that that was like a thing. And
It's like
then
gritty on purpose.
exactly. Yeah. So
Which I appreciate for sure.
100%. And it's so funny because yeah, now like he can do any of those things.
Mhm.
But the thing that seems to get him the most work is people like that gritty, like, because all rap stars want to be rock stars. Like, especially when they're doing stuff live, like they want it to look like, you know, open up this fucking pit, like type of
Yeah.
vibe. And so Adam's able to do that, which is sick as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that like when somebody told me that he's touring with Post Malone, I was like, "What? That fucking guy?"
I mean, it's sick.
And then yeah, exactly. I'm just a jaded fucking butthurt dude
So
in a
yeah, I
grandma
mean,
sweater.
to circle back to your question, I think I found the one thing that was making me any money
Which is crazy
and
because
full send on it.
traditionally it was not making people money.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it was
also
all like TFP, like
yeah,
trade for print.
yeah, which is yeah,
Yeah, it's funny to
it's
think
old
now.
now. Yeah,
But
most people just say trade shoot now.
yeah.
But yeah, which I did for a long time until I started getting better, I guess. Because yeah, I mean, I shot natural light for a long time and just took pictures of friends and whomever, and yeah, once I got the lights and stuff and like started building a studio and buying stuff, it's like it has to make sense.
Building trust amongst this community, because there are a lot of girls who say that they want to do this, but it's never going to go past that trade for shoot because they're not getting gigs or they're just not, willing to invest in themselves in that way. And because there's so many fucking photographers, they are aware that they could find somebody who's
Yeah,
willing to shoot them for free.
yeah, and there's a lot of really good photographers that shoot for free as a hobby. So I think, and there's also there's the contrast of that. There's a lot of bad, just people to stay away from. Unfortunately, that most of the time get called out as they should, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of really good photographers that shoot for free, and I think that the people that want to get into modeling, in my experience, most of them just want to do it for themselves. They don't want to like. I think the career aspect of it is rare
Oh, interesting.
in terms of like the classic model
Oh, sure.
persona.
Right.
There's obviously other ways to make money doing it.
But we also are in a time now where you have influencers and sex workers too, who like these are opportunities for promotion. So even though it's not modeling in like the traditional sense,
Sure. Yeah.
there's still for promotion. Like there's an end goal for these photos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can make a full-time living on Instagram and TikTok, and it's difficult, but it's for sure doable. And that's that would be like the contrast of the classic, like JC Penney, like model runway type stuff that I'm pretty far detached from, so I don't know if I have any opinions or knowledge or even words of anything to speak to any of that realm. Just because, there's like the whole agency aspect of things that I'm just not a part of because I don't
that's really
fit
interesting.
that look.
I didn't
Visually.
realize. So the majority of your work is just for people who want photos of themselves.
Yeah.
Just to have them.
Yeah. Almost 100. I would say 100%.
Really?
I don't know if I've ever done an agency shoot. Because, like, I mean, there's, off the top of my head, Chad Moon, if you're familiar with him, like, he's an agency model photographer.
Okay.
And that's it. He's really, really good at it. And that's, like, his whole thing. And it's very different from me.
I mean, that's fascinating because your shit is so easily translates to that world that it's interesting to me that people are getting them just to have that experience.
Yeah.
And I love that there's a whole market of people who get that and like are like know that they're doing this because they want to feel, or to have that experience of working in a professional setting and not just having, your aunt fucking take some pictures of you.
Yeah, totally.
It shifts the whole way that I look at this thing too then. Because when I came to you, I thought that I was like throwing off the usual rhythm by just being some random dude who wanted
No,
photos.
that's it. That's like the whole thing.
That's so sick. Because yeah, I mean, it's
And a lot of it is like self-promotion stuff
okay.
type stuff too, but 50-50. Self-promotion type stuff for whatever people are self-promoting for, and then people that just want to look good in some capacity.
Yeah.
They want to look cute, they want to look sexy, they want to look badass, they want to look strong. There's a whole spectrum of where you want to look, how you want to look, and how that contrasts to, the photo.
So, was there any like one client that like kind of started to set things in motion as like word of mouth that they were like, "Oh yeah, go to Erik because he's the fucking guy."
Yeah, I had a lot early on that were super killer in that aspect. I don't know if you want like specific names, but if there's like visual elements to this,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I worked a lot with a girl named Abby, the Raddest Abby.
That sounds super
She's
familiar.
like a previously local. She's in Denver now.
Okay.
Like pole instructor.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
she
yeah, yeah.
brought like a lot of her students. That feels weird to say. They're pole students, I guess.
That makes
She
it sound
brought
like they travel around
yeah,
with poles and
yeah,
they're like
in their
pogo sticking.
backpacks. No, she's a wonderful human being. Brought me a lot, and then another big one is Cha Cha, who is huge on TikTok.
Okay.
She had like a couple million on TikTok for a while, and I think that account got shut down. R.I.P.
Rip.
But yeah, she's a previously local dancer that just had a huge following. And then yeah, shooting with other bigger like local names, like Rio. She brings a lot of stuff.
The nice thing about that is like these aren't people saying, he'll do trade work. These are people that are saying pay for it and you're going to get what you pay for. Like, don't waste time.
Yeah.
And more into that. So like
Snuggle up a
I
little
know.
bit. I feel like this looks weird.
I have an
but it's
old
so
man back,
comfy.
so I'm like constantly shifting around.
Yeah, they're comfortable for about 30 minutes. And then you're like, oh my God.
This is a great idea.
I'm sitting on the floor.
But so around 2013, 2013, 2015, there was just a ton of dudes getting called out for being fucking creeps.
Yeah.
And it was scary to be kind of in the mix with that because it's like when you're driving and you notice a cop behind you and you don't have anything like on you, but you're like, did I take my grenades out of the trunk this morning? Like, if I get pulled over, is my sawed-off shotguns? You know what I mean? Like, just bizarre
Yeah.
shit. Or at least for me, like that anxiety of being like, even though I hadn't done anything wrong, I still like had that, like I was saying, like that catastrophizing kind of mentality is to like, but then it was more so I started going, oh, well, for as uncomfortable as I feel without anything actually having happened, the people that are trying to either make a career out of this or get good photos, they're the ones that are actually dealing with shit. And so seeing that whole movement of like the start of dudes being like, cancel culture is fucking ridiculous. And you're just like, no, dude, like you sending dick pics or asking for pictures of girls' buttholes is like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So amidst that, were you like on the sidelines just watching homies drop off? Or Were you just like, I have nothing to worry about?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of time not being a piece of shit, and
Almost exclusively.
almost exclusively, I would say 99% of the time. But I am also just kind of a weird person by nature, so, like, I'll catch myself saying something because it's like, yeah, you can I would yeah, I would agree with the statement that there is an element of worry. Because yeah, 99% of the time, I think the cancellations are just, but there is the possibility of an unjust cancellation. It's not a perfect world, and there are people that are canceling people just because they don't like them,
Mhm.
and like twisting words and stuff like that. So, and I think that that's something to be conscious about. And as long as you're a good person, I don't think it's going to happen. Like you'd have to give somebody a reason to do that, I would think. But
Right.
yeah, I haven't been canceled yet, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm very, and I've gotten a lot better about it too, or at least more careful. I don't want to say more careful, but like methodical about
Yeah.
being a good person, and like people are here
Conscious
to,
of intent.
yeah. I'm like, my first interaction with people when they come here are, like I have forms to fill out that keep everybody on the same page, and I'm like, our shoot was a little bit different because it's just different by nature. But yeah, when new people come in, it's like establishing where we're headed for the day and like what they want to look like what is your intent for the shoot, and yeah, just making sure that if at any point we're doing something that you don't like, then let's move on.
What category of photography would you kind of put yourself in? Not that it has to be one specific label, but like if there's, like 3 categories that like kind of explain your like avenue.
Yeah, my first answer is usually portrait work, which is vague.
Right.
I don't know. People say boudoir, but
Boudoir.
I don't feel like,
I feel like
to me that's like natural light, wicker furniture,
Mhm.
white bed sheets, drapes.
Female photographer.
Yeah. Successful ones at least.
Yeah.
Um Alternative portrait work, neon RGB based alternative portrait, weird portrait work. I don't know. I get asked that question a lot, and I always struggle to answer it just because I don't really know.
I think
Because I like doing weird stuff. I like doing weird wax thrown octopus bathtub. That's not boudoir. It's
yeah.
weird.
It's almost like cinematic in a way. Like because there are sets involved, because there
Sure.
are, so many variables with light, kind of like you were talking about. It is like an alternative cinematic like type of portraiture,
Sure.
which I think is fucking sick.
Cinematic portrait work. I like that.
Did you have friends that, kind of got lost in the sauce or that you
Like canceled Lost in the
yeah, yeah,
Sauce?
yeah. Not that you have to call anybody out, but like
Yes,
people
here's my
that
list.
people that you or just people that you respected or thought that you respected that you're like, "Oh wow, I didn't realize or I never would have guessed that this person was actually kind of a twat."
Yeah, I think they're yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's been a few. I mean, I've keep my ears pretty close to the ground and try and help people keep safe. Help people
yeah, yeah, yeah.
help keep people safe. And like yeah, it's like, I always tell people that are new or like, you get people that in here that are super young that are getting into
Mhm.
it and they might not even know that this is kind of dangerous. So I'm like, yeah, if you're ever shooting with somebody that you don't know or you're uneasy about, like you can bring them here and like I'll be here and
Oh wow.
yeah, so like that kind of thing. But I've never been super close with any photographers really.
Interesting.
It's very territorial business and
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's people that have me blocked that I've never even met, and I'm just like,
Mm.
yeah, that are like I was the original tube RGB guy in the Twin Cities, and like I'm stealing people's ideas, and like that's always a thing. It's like just because you know, like oh I did the octopus first or whatever,
Oh my
and
God.
like
Dude, it's 2019,
what?
2019 right now.
No,
Anyways, um, everything's been done,
yeah,
like, to some extent. The important it's like with music, like, mathematically speaking, we've almost done everything possible.
sure,
So, the variable is the person that you're working with and the way that you personally want, the tone to look. So, it's like people who get hung up on that whole, like, "I did it first," the only place that that applies is in comedy. If somebody steals your bit, that's different. But when it
yeah,
comes to,
and I
like,
mean I think it depends on how much you change it,
yeah.
because like yeah, the gold paint one is one that I see a lot. Gold,
Mm.
like body paint in general, or like the black tape thing.
Yep, yep, yep.
That's like, okay, everyone's done it. Chill out. It's like, yeah, I just saw a thing the other day that was like, accusing people of copying the gold paint thing. I'm like, I copied the gold paint thing from somebody else. And like, yeah, again, it's like the octopus thing.
Well, and
It came from someone else. It wasn't this particular person locally. I
people
didn't even
also
see it.
forget
Yeah.
people also forget just because it's been done, your client hasn't gotten to do that.
Yeah.
So it's like in the tattoo world, like somebody wants an anchor tattoo. It's like just because there are, however many other people who have an anchor tattoo, this person doesn't have it and they want it for themselves.
Yeah.
So, especially in more understanding how your business works, like it 1,000% doesn't matter if it's been quote unquote done because this person hasn't gotten to do it yet.
Yeah. But I think, again, back to the octopus because it's very specific. It's like if you get a Salvador Dali elephant tattoo on your cheekbone, like that's pretty specific.
Yeah.
And somebody else comes in and they're like, I want that exact
Yeah.
Salvador Dali elephant on my left cheekbone now. Switch it up a little bit. It's like, okay. And then that same person with that original Salvador Dali tattoo comes and gets an anchor on his or her, palm.
Mm-hmm.
And then that same person that copied them the first time comes in and they're like, yeah, I want the anchor palm. It's like, all right.
Okay. Yes.
Now we're
you're
getting
right.
a little suspicious.
That's true.
But it's like, yeah, if you're, like, so then I go to the gold paint thing that's a little bit more generic where it's like, yeah, everybody's going to do gold paint at some point.
Okay. Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
So it's a spectrum of
Yeah.
how close are you copying? What are you copying? How unique is the idea? And no matter how unique it is, you probably didn't think of it first anyways.
Yeah.
Even if you did it first here or you think you did it first, you probably took it from somebody else anyways.
Well, and it's funny because my common sense photography brain goes like, yeah, of course. But like, yeah, unless you verbalize it, you're absolutely right. Because that was me and smoke bomb portraits.
Yeah.
Like I had a lot of people that wanted to do it, and I did have a couple people that were like wanted to do it exactly like somebody else that I had shot, and I was like, well, I mean, then it's gonna look like you're like a member of their band, or you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna like let me if this is the concept, let me fuck around, and we'll find something that fits you.
Yeah.
When did you become confident in like giving direction and stuff? Because you've been an only kid or an only child. And so I'm assuming you weren't like huge on being a part of like big crowds and like do you have any anxiety, social anxiety, anything like that?
Yes. It's gotten worse lately for sure.
Oh, really?
COVID fucked me up.
Oh, yeah.
We went to dinner the other night, my wife and I, and then our two friends who may listen to this, but hello, we went to Olive Garden.
So
And I was like, I don't know how to talk to people anymore. I was just like, oh my God, like I just am like, what's new? Like, I don't know. But no, yeah, I was always pretty shy, and then weddings had
Mm,
forcefully deleted that from my brain. So that was probably the big, like, baptism by fire. If you're the lead photographer on a wedding and you're shy, you're fucked.
yeah.
Right, and you're gonna fail, and everybody's gonna stomp on you, and the bride's gonna have a bad time. So yeah, the wedding thing was a huge turn on,
You,
light switch,
you have a wedding fetish?
flip, switch, flip for me. Yeah, like yeah. So and then I think like in terms of posing for portrait work stuff, I'm never gonna be comfortable. It's always. I have a friend that has done a lot of shoots with me and styled a lot of my shoots, named Orly, who was a big help with that. She's been doing stuff for a long time and helped me out with a lot of my shoots early on. She styled like I did a Dead Mermaid shoot
Mm,
pretty early on. That was even like before studio stuff.
yep.
And then I did another one at a cemetery in Minneapolis where they have that big reflecting pool. I don't know the name of the cemetery,
I
but
don't know.
we did a shoot there and like a couple early on that she styled and helped with like posing and stuff, and just seeing that helped. And then full circle, she comes to like mixers and stuff now that I host,
Oh, that's
and like
awesome.
helps just be that like strong female voice in the group that's like, yeah, you look fucking amazing, like cheering people on, and like that's she just comes for that and like helps zhuzh some things up here and there. And she's been a huge help throughout the years with like just helping me understand posing. And then yeah, getting people in here that have never done a shoot before that are just like
That's what I was curious about is
so like you have to figure it out. You just have to. And you like stumble through it a lot.
because you're a director.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, people, I mean, like, I fully was like, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's a little easier because like we generally, know each other at least enough to be like, you know, we know generally what's going to look stupid and like
Yeah.
what's not going to work.
And like male poses are so much different too. That's why I don't know. Less than 10% of my work is male portraits. So I'm less rounded in that, and I feel like there's a lot less options too.
Yeah.
That's like, but it goes back to like, okay, I shoot. Do you want to be cute as a man? Then like that, we can do that. That will dictate the posing. It's like, okay, do you want to be strong? And like those poses are different. And then like there's bodybuilders that are different from regular strong. That like Mr. Olympia type stuff, and
Hmm.
it really just depends on. I guess it doesn't really matter what gender you are. It matters what persona you want to give off. And men are typically want to be strong in my
Hmm.
experience, um, and women typically want to be cute or sexy or beautiful. So I think that dictates the posing, and that was kind of a tangent.
And no, that's perfect because that actually, I mean, it's not a complete segue, but at least it makes sense in my mind. Which before we started recording, we were talking about how people open up really quickly
Yeah,
in these types of settings, especially one on one, because you're already looking for shit to talk about. But if they feel safe with you, then they're or if they just really need to get shit off their
yeah.
chest.
Or it's like a nervous
Hmm.
info dump. They're like
Yeah.
super nervous, and they're just like, "Oh my god, I
So
love my cat." Like they just come in and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." I
I
have a couple of people that I work with that as soon as they come in the door, they're just like, "Oh my god, my brother." Blah. I'm like, "Oh hey, welcome back."
I so I went to a Pearson convention last year and I was talking about this very topic, which is like, I people open up and I'm, taking on the role of like armchair therapist. It was fascinating to me the amount of people that were like, I don't do that. And like, not that they're shooting these people down and saying, nope, I don't want any part of this.
They just don't want to talk about it.
But they just naturally want to change the
Change the
subject so
subject,
that they're
sure.
not having to deal with somebody's like mental health crisis. When people started to dump like heavy stuff, are you listening and just kind of taking it in? Or does it seem like they're looking for advice? Or do you ever feel inclined to give advice?
I almost will never give advice unless like specifically asked for it, just because I feel like if you want it, you'll ask for it. But yeah, I mean, I've had people in here that are like, my dad died yesterday. And it's like, oh, fuck. Okay. Like, come on in, like we're going to figure this out. Cause it's a hard thing to do when you're not feeling good.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel like an ugly piece of shit and still go get a tattoo or get your nose pierced or your ears pierced or go to the dentist or, go to Target, go shopping. Like, coming in and like trying to feel beautiful, strong, sexy, whatever, while mourning the loss of a loved one or your
Wow.
cat's sick or you just feel like shit that day.
Yeah.
And you don't want to eat up the deposit, like, so yeah, people come in. It's a full spectrum of drama. And a lot of times it just does feel like they just kind of want to dump. And I'm just like, yeah, like, let me know in what capacity I can be here for you, whilst also getting what we need to get done today. Because we could just sit in the lounge and hang out and
yeah.
talk about your dead dog, but that's not what you're here for. So because you can talk about your dead dog while getting a tattoo,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I can have my arm out or my leg out and just sit there and cry about the shitty day that I had today, and that's therapeutic potentially. And you can't really sit in the neon jungle and cry and get a photo shoot done. You could. It would be a very different photo shoot for sure, which could be something really cool.
Well,
True.
for sure.
Like, yeah, you never know. But yeah, that's most of the time that's not what people want here.
Yeah. So how do you, like, does it seem like they vent to the point to where they're like, okay, now I'm ready to do the thing? Or are you utilizing, like, do you have things in your tool belt that you use to try to empower them and, show them that they can still look the way that they want to for this shoot, even though they've got this other shit going on?
Yeah, I think two-part answer. Part one is like the empowerment thing has always been a source of anxiety for me. Like, what's it called when you tell someone they look good? Compliment. There's a better word for it though. But anyways, so it's hard to build somebody up as a male photographer without being like creepy.
Yeah.
So I've locked in. Anybody that shot with me has heard the word killer. That's like it's race neutral, it's gender neutral, it's age neutral. A 9-year-old girl can look killer, a 90-year-old man can look killer, and everybody in between can look killer. I say it all the time, but it's like the word that I've locked in on that makes me feel like I'm not being weird, but also is building people up potentially. Because yeah, like I've second shot or shot alongside, like the women's empowerment boudoir type stuff, and it's like a totally different energy, and I think that's incredible. But that's just not something that for very obvious reasons, that's just not what I can do. So yeah, if somebody comes in and they're having a bad day or they're not feeling an outfit, like I encourage people to bring multiples, or if like you just need a minute to go cry, like that's always.
Do you mind if I use this blanket to stuff behind my back?
Yeah, please do. But yeah, I mean, it's always a space where you can hopefully feel empowered to do whatever the fuck you want. And if that's cry in the bathroom and get it out, then please do.
That's super interesting.
I don't know if that came across as shallow.
No.
I genuinely mean, like, this is a safe space forever and always. And
I think you're showing up for people in the capacity that that where you can actually be of service. And so because I have codependency issues and ADHD, my I I'm also bipolar, which I don't know if it lends to any of this shit or not, but I, from 30 years ish of not respecting people's boundaries, and like just asking random ass questions and acting in a way that like throws people off.
Mm.
Um, like I love taking a photo, looking at the screen and going, God, I'm so fucking good at what I do. Like just to be ironically like
Yeah.
I do shit like that. And um when I want people to do a certain pose, I'll come up with like I want you to look like you just smelled a fart and you know that it's your uncle and he has a condition, so you don't want to say anything, but you can't really. So like just these weird ass
Yeah.
and because of that, and so the mixture of being weird and because I'm so willing to share whatever I've been through, it opens up this other door where people go, "Oh, so we can talk about XYZ." And I can therefore also joke about dark shit
Mhm.
like suicide attempts and, addiction problems and things like that. So I will say, like, so it's this I'm a weird therapist.
Sure.
Like Patch Adams. You remember that movie?
No.
So Robin Williams is a doctor who finds out that making people laugh is a huge part of their like recovery process,
Okay.
and so that's kind of what the movie is based on. Um, like he puts a clown nose on and shit like that, and I kind of do the same thing. So the version that I have of like getting people back to where they feel confident and um, not afraid to do whatever they need to do to get to that headspace, and knowing that they have me to back them up in that journey,
Mhm.
is different than other people. So when I was saying like showing up in the capacity with which you are able, people recognize that as this person is here um, as my safety net, and they have my best interest in mind. So they're not gonna take a photo. It looks like shit, and then go, good." Like they're genuine. They know that you genuinely want them to look good. So if you look at a photo and go, that looks weird. Let's try this.
Yeah.
It's not that they look weird. They know that you're saying that in in the goal of making sure that they look how they want to look.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think so. I mean,
So
yes, it does.
I have like
Yeah, yeah.
long-winded ways of, but like a huge part of, I think the most important thing in humanity is sincerity. And when people know that you're being sincere with them, whatever you put forward, they're gonna now feel more comfortable and safe.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it's interesting. I was curious as to like how you personally do it versus someone like me who's an absolute maniac and will do whatever it takes to. I've like I've taken off my shirt or like walked around with my pants around my ankles to get a laugh and also disarm people.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not doing that for like anybody at a photo shoot. Like I have to know them pretty well and know that that's the thing that's going to get them to laugh. Um, but just to speak to like the lengths with which I'm willing to go
Mhm.
are different from everybody has a different threshold
Yeah.
because it's not your job. It's not anybody's responsibility to just because this person is dealing with XYZ that you personally have to be the one that fixes that problem.
Yeah, and I mean, they brought it up, right?
Right.
So they're looking for something, whether
Mhm.
it's just your opinion or they just wanna vent or, whatever. So, um
But have people brought things up where you're just like, I don't know. Like they're saying like, what do you think? And you have no frame of reference to try to lend a
I'm trying to think of this like a super specific example. I mean, I think
Has anyone made you feel uncomfortable in what they're sharing with you?
I don't think so.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like trying to think of what it would take to make me feel uncomfortable, like oversharing wise.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was like, yeah, some insanely personal medical problem or something, maybe. Yeah. If you come to me for a shoot and you're like, oh, you have this problem the day of, it's like, okay, I can help you by giving you what you came for, which is a photo shoot and, cool shit. So if tell me what you need to not get over it, but get through it
Yeah.
today. And then, yeah, whatever that looks like in the future,
Oh, and music. Do you always ask the client what type of music they want for the session?
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I
I
completely forgot about that.
90% of the time they're like, whatever. And I make them pick. I'm like, it's either you pick or it's silence. But no, I mean, yeah, I show them the space and, they get their own whole ass room with a door on it, which is super killer. So I'm like, this is your room. You can close the door. You can do whatever you want. Take your time getting ready. That's why like most of my shoots are not exactly time bound. Because like if you need 20 minutes to zhuzh your hair, then do it up, Please don't take 4 hours, but if it's an hour shoot, it takes an hour and a half, then whatever. That's how it goes. So yeah, and I don't overbook myself. I try to do like a shoot a day. Just because any more than that and I get kind of overwhelmed. It's like my mental capacity for socializing and like this persona of gung-ho-ness I have to put on and like hell yeah, so I try to do one a day.
That's really interesting too, because with this setup I would have thought that you were pumping out like as many shoots as you could
I mean, I would like to. It's been kind of slow lately, which is interesting. And then the whole aspect of opening things up for rental also slowed things down quite a bit for me personally. Because people can come in here for cheaper than a shoot with me, with a photographer who will do a trade shoot, and they'll get dope images on my sets.
That's weird.
Way cheaper, which has been, I like step on my own toes basically. But, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, this is my only source of income right now.
That's funny though. So do those photographers ever ask you like, hey, how did you get it to look like this?
Yes. But I mean, you're coming in using my sets and my lights, and sometimes I'm fucking helping you set shit up. It's like,
I'd be a little butthurt.
I try to really not gatekeep, but sometimes I also try to gatekeep a little bit so that people will hire me as their photographer.
Yeah.
But, there's people that are doing cool shit for free, so it's hard to compete with that. So it's like my shit's got to be cooler than the free stuff, which is hard, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, I can list off a dozen photographers that I think do really cool stuff for free.
I started losing business because I'm a family man, and so I'm not, doing, as my wife describes them, half-naked shoots. And I had a lot of people that, like, because I did this type of photo for them, they were like, "Can you do this?" And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, I could do it, but no, I can't do it."
Yeah.
So that's why that whole dynamic with your wife was interesting to me too, is because we live in a weird time too. Because I'm finding out that like way more of my friends are in polyamorous or open relationships than I would have ever thought.
Sure.
And I'm such a jealous human being that like I can't mentally figure out how you get to that point to where you're okay with somebody taking your spouse on a date.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
To me, at least, it kind of feels like that, to where I'm like, how, and maybe this is a podcast for your wife. What's your wife's name?
Wafa.
Wafa?
Mm-hmm.
Wafa?
Waffa.
Wafa. Whenever you're ready to come on, just fucking let me know. But no, that like, I mean, because you don't emit at all any ulterior motives when it comes to like, it's so clearly this job is to make dope shit
Yeah.
and to showcase like what you're capable of versus what can I get away with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's needs to be a very strong line, which is the difference between, yeah, photographers that are asking for your Snapchat. And, like, I try to avoid texting people. I try to keep it all on Instagram or email or Facebook. And I try my best to keep work. And people are not here to see me. I mean, they are, but they're not here to see me.
Yes,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? So, like, that helps me keep it separate. Like, you're not here because you like me. You're here because you want to look good. And I'm providing a service, and that's it. And that's where it stops. Yeah, it needs to be a strong line. And I think that there's a lot of people that line is not strong or not existent at all. And they're the ones that are, hosting mixers with no clear objectives, asking for Snapchats and
Mhm.
phone numbers. And, they're like the classic, what level of nudity are you comfortable with type questions, and, sending inspiration that's
Mm.
just porn basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I can go on about red flags and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And we could do a whole episode on how to not be a piece of shit
Yeah.
photographer. Um,
I think the time when I or like the time period I should say when I because at one point I was like, you know what, fuck it, I can do this and show people that I'm not a fucking creep. I was also assuming that they knew my intentions before having done any shoots with me or anything. So
mhm,
me just being like, oh yeah, dude, I'll whatever the fuck you want, and like just being oddly open right out of the gate with this industry
mhm,
is not what people are looking for. They should be coming to you and then you're letting them know that you know what I mean? Like not client hunting for this type of
sure,
work.
yeah,
Especially if you don't have anything to show that proves that you can do this shit.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's another big thing is like, if you're a model and you're looking to shoot with a photographer, go to their page and find people they've shot with and message them
Yeah.
and be like, how was your experience with XYZ? And do 3 of those, pick 3 at random. And, if all 3 say it was great, then it's probably a pretty good green flag. But yeah, I mean, there's photographers that shoot 1,000 people and it takes one. So
Mm,
to
mhm.
throw it all away and be weird for, whatever reason they chose to be weird and get canceled and move to Arizona and start over again. Yeah, I don't know.
I felt like they were all moving to Colorado or Oregon.
Yeah, the Arizona thing was a specific jab.
No, I know. You're talking about
Yeah.
Jeremy, right?
Oh, I don't know, Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy?
Oh,
What are you doing to like mental health wise? Because, there are those slow times and those times when you put in, days working on sets and things and it feels like they're not, it feels like you did it for nothing.
yeah. No,
Like
that's super real for sure.
how are you keeping yourself from like spiraling and
I'm not. I am doing nothing. No. Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, the ice cave, for example, I spent $1,000 on foam and icicles and paint, and between the 3, 4, 5 of us, my wife's in here helping paint. We spent 40 hours on the cave, and it's like, I hope people like it. I'm like, because I don't know, I think the Easter set was one that was like, maybe people don't care, but luckily I didn't spend a bunch of money on that. But yeah, I mean, the spiral stuff is super real. and it's a lot of like my entire livelihood is dependent on being creative and pushing envelopes and being better than people that are charging nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I've kind of pivoted to focusing a lot on rental stuff too, because that is, I don't want to say free money, but I just show up and make sure you don't get into a fight
Yeah.
and steal my stuff. Um,
Do you have
but
cameras set up?
no, I don't even have Wi-Fi in here. I've been thinking about getting. There's no Ethernet cable, and AT&T says I can't have 5G stuff here. So
What the fuck?
yeah. Anyways, but to circle back to your question, I do exercise.
Mm.
Yeah, I mountain bike.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I got super into mountain biking because it's outside, it's dangerous, and it's physically insane. So like, yeah, I have some like neck headphones that I throw on so I can still hear, so I don't get hit by a car or something. Because if I wore these, I would just run into everything
Yeah,
and
yeah,
get
yeah.
hit by cars. So yeah, mountain bike, 3 to 5 times a week.
Holy shit! Wow.
Like 5 to 7 miles each time. So
So you,
that's like a huge burn steam thing for me. I think yeah, just like physical exercise is a huge thing to help me just distract from the woes of the day or whatever.
yeah.
And then like more menial tasks like building stuff is also pretty therapeutic for me. But it's also not because my livelihood depends on me hurrying the fuck up and getting this ice cave done. But yeah, like painting and stuff like that is pretty therapeutic because that's kind of hard to fuck up just rolling paint on a wall. But yeah, I think the physical exercise and then having a wife that's super dope, spending time with her, and yeah, a good safety net of I have really cool parents that are retired, so they're super crazy helpful, and a genius dad that helps me do ridiculous things. And then yeah, I have a pretty cool group of people that have helped me along the way here. My buddy Mac, who was helped me design, like he helped me build these walls.
Oh shit.
So he's helped build the 2 walls, and he helped with the ice cave a ton, carving like the foam and stuff. And then yeah, I pay people sometimes. Like if you want to come in and paint, I credit that towards shoots.
Oh, okay.
So I pay $35 an hour towards shoots, which some people are
Fuck yeah.
like, holy shit, and some people are like, no, I make 90. And I'm like, oh, okay.
They don't get it.
I'm a professional painter. But I'm like, okay, I can't pay you $90 an hour. I'm like, I wish I could, but so yeah, it's just people coming in and helping. That's alleviates a lot of that stress, I guess, to finally answer your question.
Well, and I mean, you pointed something out too, which is having a support group is huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, back to that whole, being a single child thing, like not everybody, and actually now that I think about it, the fact that you rent this space out, like a lot of kids that were, single child, they're not the best at sharing. So the fact that you're like, I mean, won't say like totally fine, but like is open to it as you are.
Yeah. I mean, I went, my high school was huge. So like, I had a lot of close friends growing up, and I was in Boy Scouts. So
Oh, okay.
that helped. But yeah, I had a buddy whose mom did daycare, so he was at my house a lot.
Ah.
Yeah, so he was sleeping over on school nights and shit. So he felt like a brother kind of growing up. Just because yeah, he was at our house all the time because his mom didn't want him at his house because she's got 12 other kids there that aren't hers. So she's like, you just go away for a couple days. But yeah, I had a lot of really close friends growing up. So,
But yeah, having a support group is huge. It's and especially after COVID, like we all learned to isolate and like got so used to home being the safe base that like a lot of people didn't want to leave. Like
yeah,
even when, shit opened back up. Um so yeah, I think it's rad that you have a support group. You're level-headed in the way that you think about these things,
I try to be,
and
yeah,
are aware of your limits.
maybe.
I feel well, I mean, I would say aware of your nothing looks like it's really going to waste.
Fair.
So, because you could have wood and shit everywhere because you had a half of an idea of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to my support group of people that know way more than I do. But I'm like, I want to build a T-wall, and he's like, here's a bill of materials, and then we go to Menards, and I buy the shit, and we put it together, and like, I'm handy, but I'm not that level,
Mm.
you know. So I'm lucky to have Mac and my dad that can take their little kid to the Menards and tell him what he needs to buy. It's like, yeah, I mean, I could figure it out, but it's so much easier when you have people that are really good at it to just be like, it's done, and we can knock something out like this in a day, whereas it would have taken me a week to figure out, and I would have cried twice, like spiraled several times, and so yeah, I'm super stoked on the help that I have.
Okay, well, I normally have people like, expel if you have any advice for people. I'm trying to think of like in what, realm I would want advice from
Sure.
you. Um, and I think it's the I guess your recognizing your limitations. Because like you were saying, you have people who can help you with XYZ. When like when do you know I should I shouldn't try to push myself or push this one thing and I need to
I
ask
don't
for
know if
help.
I have a good advice on that, because I feel like that's something honestly I struggle with, is like, I'm gonna build an ice cave, and then I'm like, can you guys help? So, because yeah, it is hard. It's crazy hard to know where your limits are sometimes. Um, so I don't know if I have good sound advice for that, because I don't think that I practice that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because it is like I just jump in, and then I'm like, who's coming with me? Like, I keep going back to the ice cave where I was just like, I'm gonna build an ice cave. I set it in stone, and then I go to Mac, and I'm like, so how do we build an ice cave? He's like, you're gonna need this foamular stuff and glue, and then I'm like, go to my dad, and I'm like, oh, I bought this hex light on Amazon. How are we gonna hang it?
But I mean,
But I know that and I don't want it to seem like I take advantage of those relationships either, because it's like, I know that they're excited and know the answers, but I don't want to also assume that they're ready to hang out and help either. So, but they are, they're ready to go, and I can call on them.
well, and I mean, but you're hitting up people that are in your support group.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
But
not.
did I force them into my support group?
Ooh,
Yeah. That's
interesting. Are you there for them?
I'd like to think so.
So I mean,
But yeah, I mean, you ask yourself that question too. Am I? If, so and so called me and needed help moving, and I'm like, oh, I'm busy, and like, how many hours have they put in helping here?
so I mean, maybe then this is a good like area of self-reflection to be like, I am utilizing what they have to offer quite a bit, and recognizing that um with your imagination comes, you know, these pillars that allow you to execute the thing.
Yeah. Like
So,
pillars of skill set pillars.
yeah.
Um, so ask me a
Pillars to
different
your
advice question.
foundation. Yeah. So if people want to buy a mountain bike,
Oh yeah.
no. Um, I guess what keeps you from giving up on photography? Because, like I said, I've known of you for 10 years, but that's not your entire. You know, I don't. I'm assuming you've been shooting longer than that
Professionally?
to some capacity. Like, so when we say professionally, like when was the first time you got paid for a shoot?
Music videos in college.
Okay,
in like 2012, probably.
Okay. So
So
yeah,
12 years, probably.
there we go.
Just shy of 10 years. What keeps me from quitting? Um, the overwhelming urge to make cool shit. Insatiable when it comes to like sets and like cool weird stuff. I don't know. And I like making people feel good. So
So do you still paint?
no,
No.
no,
What about drawing?
no. I can't draw for shit anymore. I took all of those eggs and put them in a different basket, and yeah. I don't know.
Do you do any like digital art? Like nothing.
No, I don't even do graphic design anymore. I don't even. I hated it. As soon as I graduated, I was like, cool. I hope I don't have to do that forever. So I don't know. That's also another tricky question that I don't know I have an answer for. That's not advice.
No. But I'm also totally fine with like people recognizing these things and then going on that journey and like because we're not all gurus. We're not all going to have answers for everything.
Yeah.
And so the human aspect of being like I don't know and I am figuring that shit out. I I think helps people feel like they're not alone in that.
Yeah.
Because there are tons of people that respect you for what you do and how you execute things. So I mean, I hope that them hearing that lets them know that you are human.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah. Like after this, I'm going to borrow my friend's full size pickup truck and enclosed trailer to go pick up bookshelves
oh
in,
yeah.
in Chanhassen. And I'm
Ugh.
like, okay, what am I gonna do for him? You know. Oh, and I got a vending machine too. I got a
You got a vending machine?
vintage Pepsi vending machine for free.
What?
It's like 300 pounds, so we're gonna
Ugh.
just shove that in here somewhere. But anyways, yeah, okay. Hit me. I wanna be a guru. Hit me with a different advice.
Okay. I like that answer. The insatiable urge to create dope shit and not feeling because I feel like everybody has that to some capacity where like I have a lot of great ideas, but I don't execute those ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the unknown of having someone show up and like not knowing that this could be the pinnacle of your work today. Like it's like, I don't know. I might catch flack for this, but like if you're an accountant, like A is A and B is B and A through Z is A through Z and 1 + 1 is 2 and whatever. And like your greatest day as an accountant, like what does that look like? So like your greatest day as a creative is kind of dictated by this perfect storm of variables. That's like all of these things have to come together for it to be super cool, and it's risky, and I think that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think that's like the unknown aspect of it on and the risk of today might suck, but it also might be like the coolest thing you've ever done. So I think that's pretty cool, and I think that keeps me going a lot
And yeah,
and
and
feeling in control of that, but also not really being in control of that at the end of the day. So
so that eliminates your what like in the action sports world or extreme sports world, whatever you want to call it. But that brain fear is gone. Like the feeling before you try to hit a handrail or some shit like that.
sure,
Like some people get stuck with all of the things that could go wrong.
yeah,
Whereas those who succeed are like, how dope is this going to look once I
yeah.
land this and roll away?
You've got all the correct tools, and you've done your work to do what you can do, and like yeah, it could be a perfect day, and you could fuck it all up by hitting an ice chunk. Or you could hit there's two spectrums. You could have this perfectly prepared thing that goes to shit, or this shit show that turns out perfect.
But yeah, the difference being like, if you don't at least try, you're never gonna know.
Yeah.
And the more you give into that fear, the less the less of that cool shit you're gonna see. So the fact that you're able to eliminate that aspect and go, that's not what will hold me back. what will hold me back is if, I can't, get out of bed to go and at least try this thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you have created a routine that allows you to move forward with the thing and at least try it. Because that hunger for the amazing outcome keeps you going,
Yeah.
rather than like petrifies you and just goes,
100%.
there's no way I'm going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Then that's huge,
Hell yeah.
especially as us fellow artists. Like, oh my god, there's tons of shit that like I wish and should be doing, but it holds me back because I go, oh, but that means I'm not spending time with my son, or it means
Sure.
that like all these other things. Not that that's not an important thing, but like my son also might not want to fucking hang out with me, and
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter. So creatives, I feel like we'll always have a hurdle, and it's either going to be mental, financial, or physical, and you got to get over those things. So kudos to being able to do that.
Thank you.
List all your socials and things.
The studio Instagram is studio.raw, STP, like St. Paul. And then my personal page is E as in Eric, B as in Beaver, photo as in photography, and then 651, like the area code. That's pretty much it. I'm pretty much exclusively on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
I do have a TikTok that I'm trying to do, but I feel old and lazy. And then I have a website, but it doesn't matter.
I was gonna say nobody goes.
Nobody
to
cares.
So if people want
like
to book with you, like, is Instagram the place to do it then?
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. I also have a Facebook, but it's just like my personal Facebook, but it's so far beyond a personal Facebook at this point that you can also find me on there.
Hell yeah. Well, dude, fucking thanks for doing this and sitting in the cold with me. And
I'm like, okay, it's starting to get a little cold.
Yeah.
It is a warehouse with no heat on, so. Well, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Fuck yeah. And to the listeners, be well to yourselves.